Three-row midsize SUVs are the go-to choice for growing families, replacing wagons and minivans over the last few decades. The Enclave is Buick's entrant in this class, promising a little more refinement than others, but not so much as to send the prices skyrocketing towards those European brands. Does it fulfill that promise? We'll find out over the course of this review, but in the meantime, do us a favor, hit those like and subscribe buttons below to get all of our latest content. This third-generation Enclave debuted in 2025 and represents the largest SUV in Buick's lineup. For 2026, it gets a digital rearview mirror for the top trim and a few new color choices. As with most Buicks, it's based on a related Chevrolet model. In this case, it's the Chevy Traverse. Style-wise, however, it's all Buick. Up front, we have the typical Buick nose with this swooping hood, these thin accent lights with the real headlights just below. This black grille and the trim around it are unique to the mid-range sport touring trim. Other models get silver accents. Personally, I think the grille is just a little too big and maybe a little oddly placed. I feel like it should be lower in the front fascia, but that's just me. What do you think? Do you like the looks of the front of the Buick? Let us know in the comments below. There's really not a lot to say about the side view. It's got the black trim around the wheel wells and around the windows and bottom, but otherwise it's sort of plain. And that sort of carries over to the back end here. It's somewhat generic, like an anonymous car in a video game. It looks familiar, but there are no distinguishing traits, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. I mean, I feel like in some ways the Hyundai Palisade and the next Kia Telluride are a little over-designed. But what do you think? Again, let us know in the comments below. Under the hood is a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that's good for 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque. It's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and front-wheel drive is standard. All-wheel drive is available as an option for about $2,000 on all trim levels. How does this all come together on the road? Let's find out. When it comes to power, this Enclave is adequate, maybe a little more than adequate, but honestly, when I'm driving up this hill, which isn't all that steep, it sounds like the engine's working a little harder than it should. And when you look at other mid-sized three-row SUVs, they come with V6 engines that sound a little burlier, but also they're at a lower engine speed, so it doesn't sound like you're stressing it out as much. I say it's adequate because in flatlands, it gets up to speed just fine. But going up this hill, it kind of highlights the transmission's lack of response. When you give it a little gas, it kind of coughs and wheezes a little until it starts gathering speed. And that's why I want to use the shift paddles. But just tapping these shift paddles don't do anything. Oddly enough, you have to hit this low range button on the steering wheel first, and then you can use it. Now in third gear, and keeping it in third gear, it's fine. You don't have to worry about transmission response. The power is always there, and it seems like the right gear, at least for this incline. I especially like using these paddle shifters on the way down because I prefer not to ride the brakes all the way down and heat them up. When it comes to handling, it's what you'd expect from a three-row SUV. It's not sporty. If you want sporty, go for the Acura MDX or Mercedes or BMW models. But this is focused more on comfort and just calm. I feel like it soaks up the bumps really well, and it's just pleasant. But yeah, really the only downside is the sound of that 4-cylinder. But if you're not stressing it out, it's a non-issue. As far as visibility goes, well, it's okay out the back. It's not great, but that's kind of expected these days. As a three-row SUV intended for families, this comes loaded with all the typical advanced safety features: adaptive cruise control, frontal collision, lane keep assist, and they work really well. But the problem I have is getting it started. We have these chrome buttons here that are really hard to read in any lighting condition. Now, I get it. If you own the car, after a week or so, you'll totally get used to it. You won't even think about it again. I think it's just one of those design missteps where they're concentrating more on aesthetics than usability. Again, really minor nitpick though. The killer app for the Enclave and a lot of GM vehicles is Super Cruise. It's their hands-free automated driving system, and I think it's one of the better ones in the industry. I like it a lot more than Tesla's, and it's right up there with Ford's Blue Cruise. It really helps to lessen the load on the driver and just reduce fatigue overall, especially on long road trips. Of course, the more important thing to think about is how it works for all of your passengers. So let's pull over and chat about the interior. Inside the Enclave, materials quality is noticeably nicer than the Chevy Traverse, and that should easily justify the cost increase. You get much more soft touch materials and a little less hard plastic, and when you do have hard plastic, it kind of makes sense where they're situated. Of course, the big star of the show is this huge 30-inch curved digital display that houses both the instrument panel and the infotainment touchscreen. It runs on a Google built-in system, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. You also get this wireless charging pad, a Wi-Fi hotspot, and a 12-speaker Bose audio system. Now, this sport touring model only adds this flat-bottom steering wheel along with some black exterior pieces. Now, this comes with the optional power package that adds driver's seat memory, a heated section in the windshield for the wiper, a head-up display, a power folding third row, a household power outlet, a virtual mirror, a one-touch second row fold, and universal remote for your garage door. And this one also has the optional panoramic sunroof. I like the look of the interior, but there's a few weird things, at least for me personally. When I'm sitting in the driver's seat, I feel like the dash is just a little too low, by 5 or 6 inches actually. I'm seeing a lot of the dash topper above it, as well as a head-up display opening, which is a little weird. I'd prefer it to be a little higher, almost like you get in some of the newer Lincolns, where it goes all the way across from roof pillar to roof pillar, right almost where the windshield meets it. And that puts it a little closer to my driver's sight line. As it is, I feel like I have to glance down a little further down than I'd prefer. It's not terribly distracting, but a little bit helps here and there. Storage-wise, it's actually really good. Not only do you have this rubberized phone charger, pretty decently sized cup holders, and this giant bin here, but there's also another giant tray right underneath the center console. The door pockets are also fairly well sized and can hold moderately sized bottles. These seats look fairly unique too. I like this dot pennant, which is a little more visually interesting than just the regular perforations. Seat comfort is also really good, and that's kind of a Buick thing too. This is made for comfort and for long drives, and it does quite well. This does not have ventilated seats. You'd have to step up to the top Avenir trim for that. When it comes to the infotainment system, not only is it attractive, but it's fairly easy to use. The menus are logically arranged and responses are fairly quick. I also like the graphics and typefaces they use. It kind of reminds me of Lexus in some ways. I also like how the primary climate controls are here with physical little buttons, but you do have some of the secondary elements anchored to the bottom of the infotainment screen. One thing I do find a little odd is the camera. It does have a surround view camera, but the space it takes up on the screen is oddly small. There's a ton of space around it that I think they could have utilized, but right now it just sort of feels a little last generation with its size. Here in the second row, the Enclave comes standard with these captain's chairs. Oddly enough, you can't get a bench, not even as an option. And that might dissuade some, let's say, larger families, but I feel like for most people shopping in the entry-level luxury class, it's probably fine. Materials quality is about as good as the front, although there's a little more visible hard plastic here and there. In the absence of a center armrest, you do have these cup holders here and tri-zone climate control. Below we have 2 USB-C ports and that household power outlet. There is something weird about these captain's chairs though. It's this little bump right here that's hitting my tailbone in the most unusual way. I think on a longer road trip, I'd start to hate it. Another minor complaint I have is actually this grab handle here. Well, I like grab handles, especially for smaller passengers. There's a really sharp edge just on the inside that feels kind of cheap, which kind of runs counter to the luxury side of this interior. I do like how these seats are elevated and I have a great view out the front and off the sides. And these seats do slide and recline fairly well, so you can at least have a little more of a business class experience back here. In most cases, you're going to be putting smaller passengers in this third row, but I'm 5'10" and I can attest that I fit just fine back here. I'm obviously not getting as much thigh support as I would in the second row, but it's still really good for a 3-row SUV. I'd say it's comparable to the Palisade and Telluride. Now, materials quality obviously isn't going to be as nice either, because technically I'm in the cargo bay. You got hard plastic armrests here, but I do have a USB-C charge port. And I also have another remote release button, so I can fold the front seat forward or annoy my older siblings. And behind the third row of seats, we have a good amount of space here. Maybe a little more than I was expecting. And as an added bonus, underneath, there's a very large bin, and the lid stays open, and you have these handy hooks here for your shopping bags. Now with the power package, you also get these power folding third row seats that are really helpful when you're loading bulkier items, and it eventually folds flat too. My only nitpick here is this tailgate doesn't quite go up as high as I'd expect, and I think for taller people, that might be an issue, but at 5'10", I just barely clear it. Enclave pricing starts right around $48,000 for the base preferred trim. This sport touring model, that rings in just above $51,000, but I'm honestly not sure if it's worth the money because all you're getting are these black accents. At the top of the range, the Avenir rings in just above $61,000. This sport touring model is optioned with all-wheel drive, the Super Cruise package, the power package, and the sunroof. As tested, that sends the price past $62,000. And that has me scratching my head because the top Avenir trim with the Super Cruise package and all-wheel drive only costs about $4,000 more. And for the money, you get the power package and sunroof, 22-inch wheels, adaptive suspension, premium leather, ventilated and massaging front seats, a 16-speaker premium Bose system, heated second-row seats, and upgraded ambient interior lighting. With front-wheel drive, the Enclave is estimated to return 22 mpg in combined city and highway driving. This all-wheel drive only drops to 21 mpg combined. That's really not all that great when you consider the other SUVs in the class, especially when you know that some of them are offered in hybrids. For example, the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid can return up to 36 mpg, while the Palisade Hybrid is rated at 34 mpg. Even the Mazda CX-90 gets 25 mpg combined. To its credit, the Enclave was recall-free in its debut 2025 year. On top of that, it received an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus rating, which is the agency's highest honor. Only the CX-90 has gotten that award so far. Now in the class, I've already mentioned the Hyundai Palisade, the Kia Telluride, but there's also the Honda Pilot, Toyota Grand Highlander, and Mazda CX-90. Overall, I kind of like the Enclave. Now, it doesn't really stand out one way or the other, good or bad, but I mean, that's not so bad for a three-row midsize SUV. If you're looking for any excitement, really the only choice is the Acura MDX. But what do you think? Would you go for the Enclave or perhaps jump for one of its rivals? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below, and we'll see you in the next review.